Some people say that Leica cameras are better than other cameras. Following my recent YouTube poll, today's video will answer the question why people prefer to use Leica cameras compared to non-Leica cameras. And this is looking at specifically digital Leica cameras. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. So following my recent video on problems with Leica cameras, I thought I'd level it up slightly by finding out why people prefer Leica cameras to, say, Sony, Fuji, Nikon, Canon, or any other brands that are out there. I posted a YouTube poll and then I followed it up with a second YouTube poll to really pinpoint why exactly people love Leica cameras. The number one reason people want to use Leica cameras is the build and simplicity of digital Leica cameras compared to non-Leica cameras. This is quite a broad topic, so I did a second poll specifically working out what part of the build and simplicity that people like the most. We'll get onto that in the second part of the video. The second biggest reason people prefer to use Leica is the image quality. When coming from non-Leica brands, the first thing people seem to notice are the Leica colors and even the black and white tones from Leica cameras. People say the black and whites are proper black and whites and the colors are just better than you can get from different cameras. Coming in at number 3, the fact that Leica make digital rangefinder cameras. Some people like myself absolutely love film rangefinder cameras and they just love to get the same experience with a digital rangefinder camera and then not have to faff around with developing film and scanning film. So Leica are the only brand that make digital rangefinder cameras. So if you're on the market for a digital rangefinder camera, Leica is your only option. The fourth biggest option for why people prefer Leica cameras is they value the Leica brand. Rightly or wrongly, some people think of Leica as maybe the pinnacle and their dream camera, and so they spend all their life perhaps using non-Leica cameras, and then maybe they get to retirement or get a bit of extra money and they finally treat themselves to the camera of their dreams. Coming in at number 5, people buy Leica cameras because they want to use Leica lenses on Leica cameras. So I've proved from some of my own testing, if you use Leica M lenses on a Leica M body, you're going to get better results than using Leica M lenses on a Leica, say, SL body. If you extend this even further and say use Leica M lenses on a Sony camera or Leica M lenses on a Fuji camera, there's going to be a very strong argument that you're going to get worse results on a non-Leica branded camera than on a Leica branded camera. Not always, but definitely true with some lenses, and I'd say probably more so for wider lenses. So some people want the best results from their lens, so they buy the Leica camera to go with their Leica lens. I just want to stop the video for a second. I want to say a huge thanks to my awesome patrons. Patreon is my online teaching platform, so to check out more, links below. So those were the results from the first poll. It was then time to do a second poll to really get down into the details as to why exactly the build quality and simplicity of Leica cameras was so important. So answers from poll number 2. The number 1 reason why people love Leica cameras so much is because they give the nearest possible analog digital experience. By that I mean pure photography, back to basics. You've got your ISO setting, your shutter speed dial, and your aperture controls. That's all you need. 3 things is all you need to take good pictures. Most cameras give you a million features and then 10 custom buttons on top of those features, making it so complicated and overwhelming that you forget about the basics of taking pictures and you get more mixed up. People love Leica because it's real stripped back pure photography, especially Leica M cameras, and that is the top answer why people love Leica as their primary camera choice. The second most popular answer is just the tangible feel of Leica cameras in your hands. I could pick any cameras from the pile down here, but I've got my SL here, and despite owning similar cameras like the Lumix S5, the Leica SL just feels good. Both these cameras can take very similar photos, but the Leica SL is just so much more rewarding to use. I think part of photography is actually the process of taking the photos, so regardless if both end pictures are exactly the same, if you don't enjoy the process to get to the final photo, then what's the point? So Leica cameras are enjoyable to use, and from my experience they're more enjoyable to use than non-Leica cameras, and that seems true from what you're telling me as well. Answer number 3, people love the fact that there are less buttons and dials and features on Leica cameras versus non-Leica cameras. I know some of these answers overlap, but I think this is particularly true for non-Leica M cameras because everybody that likes Leica M cameras voted for the analog digital experience. So I think people are talking about the Leica SL, Leica CL and the Leica Q cameras being just enough features for what you need, and then not too many extra ones to make it still an enjoyable experience. Answer number 4, again, the Leica brand is important to people. When I think of this in digital terms, I think the easiest way to point out that Leica build quality cameras is to just look at my 4 cameras that I use. I've got a 2012 Leica M240, so 10 years old. I've got the 2015 Leica SL, I've got the 2015 Leica Q, and then I've got the 2017 Leica CL. So these cameras are like 10 years old, 7 years old, digital cameras, and I'm using them for like client work and professional photography. And if you said that to someone in like a camera shop, it was like, sorry, I didn't quite hear you. You're using a 10-year-old digital camera for professional photos. I think this is unheard of if you're using a Sony or a Fuji or pretty much any non-Leica camera. Leica cameras just last so long, they just last forever. If you've got like a M8 or like M9, these cameras are even older and they're still just going on and on and on. So you do get what you pay for with Leica cameras if you hold on to them long enough. And I think used digital Leica cameras are particularly great value. The best thing about Leica cameras is it also kills your gas for buying the latest and greatest camera, because the old cameras are so good. I'm using these, like the SL for example, not once am I looking for the 2023 model. I'm so happy with the 2017 model. Leica perhaps shoot themselves in the foot because people don't necessarily need to upgrade because their old cameras are still so good. A bit like using an old iPhone, they just keep going because they're really well made. Actually, Leica is much better than iPhones because iPhones seem to be programmed to die after X number of years and then the battery is no longer working. So they're better than iPhones. Last but not least, some of you said that the design and style of Leica cameras is what's important to you. I've written a full blog post to accompany this video, link below. Do check it out because part of it includes the 3 types of photographers when it comes to branding. I've described it as Group 1 or Type 1, the red strap brigade, people that like to show off their Leica cameras and draw even more attention to their camera. Next, you've got the black strap or leather strap brigade. They tend to have their cameras a bit more subtle, perhaps a bit like me. They're kind of proud to have a Leica camera, but they don't want to show it off to everybody because they don't like being the center of attention. And then you've got the tapered up crew who basically buy their Leica camera and the first thing they do is tape it up with black masking tape so you can't see any sign of Leica-ness on the outside, probably so they don't get it stolen if they're, say, street photographers. So those are the 3 classes of Leica camera owners as I think of it. So that is my roundup of why photographers love Leica cameras the most. As a photographer that's taught Leica workshops since 2014, one thing that I get the most satisfaction and enjoyment from is seeing a non-Leica photographer try a Leica camera for the first time. I think this is particularly rewarding for me when I see a professional non-Leica photographer user use a Leica camera. And I think the best example I can think of in recent times, it was Peter McKinnon buying his Leica Q2 reporter and using it for the first time. See this video next and just watch his eyes and face light up when he sees the photos from the Leica camera.